there, Jonathan here, and welcome to Learn to Playthrough, and welcome to the continuation of our playthrough of Shadows of Brimstone, City of the Ancients. So let's go ahead and get Shadows of Brimstone, City of the Ancients going, and start off with Setup. Now, if you already know, or don't know, it takes about 18 minutes to empty the box. So let's go ahead and get the box and lay it out on the side table. So with the box empty and laid out, let's go ahead and move on to introductions. While our four heroes head 2 days north to check out that other mine that Clark Morgan has, here is an update on our two former heroes, Yvette and Shauna, and the creation of our two new heroes, Sam and Angela. So let's go ahead and start out with Yvette Wilson, Gunslinger. So here's our gunslinger, Yvette Wilson, and she is 26 years old. As you remember, a little over a year ago, Yvette received a letter from her younger sister, Shauna, and in the letter it says how she's being held captive abusively by her employer and now wishes to be free. So in the past year, Yvette secretly obtained a pistol and special bullets and began practicing, and now she's not the greatest of quick draw, but once she gets that pistol out, she's able to grit her teeth and with her open hand, fan that hammer blur. Now as she practiced in secrecy, paranoia set in plenty. If not for the sips of whiskey from the bottle and the reality checks from her hand mirror, she probably would have gone crazy months ago from what people call voices in the dark. So now her sanity is at an all-time high as it goes from 12 up to 16. So today Yvette has come to remove her sister Shauna from her line of work, but short of money, she went ahead and signed a contract with Clark Morgan, the owner of Hotel Morgan, to return any darkstone found in a local mine that contained a vast deposit of darkstone in return for her sister Shauna's freedom. That was then, this is now. Yvette and Shauna made their way up to the local mine and entered into it. When they got to room 3 mid-passage, Yvette went ahead and scavenged and found an axe. Now, Yvette is a gunslinger and uses a gun, so she has no need for an axe, so she went ahead and gave the axe to Shauna. In the same room, room 3 mid-passage, Yvette failed the darkness card Whispering Voices, and because of that, she ended up obtaining the Madness Open to the Void. No longer get a willpower save to prevent corruption hits. In the next room, room 4, a rail tunnel, Yvette ended up finding a healing stone. Once per adventure, heal 2d6 wounds, sanity, any mix from a single hero. Okay. A couple rooms later, in room 6, Cavern of Bones, Shauna found a crisp rose. And with that, since Yvette gave her the axe, Shauna's going to go ahead and give Yvette the crisp rose. So Yvette goes ahead and attaches it to her pistol. In the next room, room 7, the big room, this is the final room, and they drew a growing dread card called Cosmic Insignificance. And with that, Yvette ended up losing 2 sanity, dropping her sanity from 16 down to 14. After the room 7, the big room, they found the deposit of darkstone. So Yvette went ahead and got her share of darkstone, and she ended up with a total of 8 darkstone. Now normally, the next step would be to do a willpower save to stop them from becoming corruption points, but in Yvette's case, she's got the Madness Open to the Void, which says you no longer get a willpower save to prevent corruption hits. So with that, that means that all 6 of those corruption hits turn into corruption points. And because of that, 5 of them end up mutating her, and Yvette gets fused with rock. -2 move, minimum 1, but she also gets armor 4+. So now Yvette is mutated, and that took up 5 out of the 6, so she has 1 corruption point left. Now after the mine, they headed back to the frontier town, and on the way they ended up with a travel hazard and found a massacred wagon train. So Yvette went ahead and did some searching and ended up finding a trusty pistol. So after that, they went ahead and continued on and made their way all the way back to town. When they got back to town, they went ahead and did an inventory of what they had, and they found out they didn't really have a lot of money. So Yvette went ahead and sold the trusty pistol for $600. So it is day 1, and Yvette decides that she's going to go to the church because she needs to do something about this madness open to the void that she has. So she goes over to the church and finds the local priest and tells him about the problem, and the priest says, "Oh yes, I can go ahead and do an exorcism of madness." And with that, the priest gets rid of Yvette's madness. Yvette goes ahead and returns back to the hotel where Shauna tells her all about the saloon that she was at today, and Yvette was kind of interested about that, so she thinks, I'll go ahead and check that out tomorrow. So day 2, Yvette goes ahead and heads on over to the saloon, and when she gets over to the saloon, she goes ahead and turns her back to walk up the steps to enter into the saloon, and the sound of gunfire happens, and a bullet clips her right leg, and she ends up taking an injury called slashed leg, and she gets -1 to move, minimum 1. So now she has a total of -3 to move between her mutation fused with rock and her injury slashed leg. She ends up going into the saloon and watching what's going on in there and seeing all this gambling being done, and eventually she's ready to leave. And she goes up to the bartender and says, "Hey, what's that behind you?" And he says, "That's a cask." So she's going to go ahead and buy this cask. And then after she buys the cask, she says, "Hey, go ahead and fill that up with whiskey." So she goes ahead and fills up the cask with the 3 whiskey. And she's ready to go. So she goes ahead and heads back to the hotel. And then we go to our next day, day 3. So at the beginning of day 3, Shauna comes up to her and says, "Hey, can you go ahead and hold on to these for me?" And those are the bandage and flash that she wanted to hold on to. So Yvette goes in and puts those into her side bag. And then Yvette decides to head on over to the blacksmith. So as she's heading over to the blacksmith, she keeps looking over her shoulder until she sees that Shauna has gone out of view. So then Yvette goes ahead and turns really quickly and heads back to the saloon. So she goes back to the saloon and spends some more money, loses more money. And the big question is, has she been bitten by the gambling bug? So it's the end of day 3, and Yvette and Shauna meet back up with Clark Morgan, and he has 2 sets of items for him. So the first one, he gives Yvette the 2 specimen jars and tells her to go ahead and find some flora and fauna on the other side of that glowing blue exit. And then he gives Yvette the papers that show the directions to the mine, but Yvette goes ahead and turns these papers over to Shauna because she's been around here for a year. She knows the area a little bit better than her. So now, with all you need to know with our first hero, let's move on to Shauna Wilson, Saloon Girl. So here's our saloon girl, Shauna Wilson, and she is 23 years old. So as you know, 2 years ago, after a heated confrontation with her sister Yvette, Shauna had left home and headed west, where she ended up falling into a line of work where she could comfort others with her presence. So within the year, times got worse as her employer began to strike her to keep her in line and found her job impossible to escape from. Now, if it wasn't for her fast movement and the acrobatic dodging, most likely she would have been found out in the North 40 plenty of times lifeless. But thanks to the weathered poncho and the old lantern which her sister gave her during her late teens, her health grew stronger and went up from an 8 to a 12, and she no longer hears what people call voices in the dark. Today she continues to search for a way to freedom, and with the arrival of her sister, she's going to join up so that they can find their fortune to provide a new future of freedom. Now if that doesn't work, a small holdout pistol, which that size is the only size that she can use, or 3 sticks of dynamite with the initials CM scratched into them should do the trick. That was then, this is now. Shauna and Yvette went ahead and took on the mission to find that vast deposit of darkstone for Clark Morgan. As they entered into the mine, in room 2, the mining lift, Shauna went ahead and scavenged and found 2 bandages. In the next room, room 3, mid-passage, this is where Yvette had found the axe, and since Yvette is a gunslinger shooting a pistol, she doesn't need an axe in combat, so she went ahead and gave Shauna the axe. Several rooms later, in room 6, Cavern of Bones, Shauna went ahead and scavenged and found crisp rose. So since her sister Yvette gave her the axe, Shauna went ahead and gave Yvette the crisp rose. In the next room, room 7, the big room, this was the last room, and we drew a growing dread card called Cosmic Insignificance. And on that, Shauna ended up losing 1 sanity. And with that, her sanity dropped from 14 down to 13. In the same room, room 7, the big room, Shauna found 2 flashes, and that ended up filling up her side bag to the total of 5 tokens. After the room, room 7, the big room, they completed the mission and ended up finding the deposit of darkstone. So Shauna ended up finding 3 darkstone, and then afterwards she had to go ahead and see if those darkstone caused corruption. So when she went ahead to see if the darkstone caused corruption hits, they did, and then each of those 3 corruption hits ended up turning into 3 corruption points. So after the mine, they ended up heading back to the frontier town, and on their way back, they ended up causing a travel hazard and came across a massacred wagon train. Now Shauna wasn't lucky like her sister finding anything. Instead, Shauna ended up finding entrails hanging off a wagon wheel and a heart on the ground. That because of that, she got a little bit scared by what she saw, and she ended up losing another sanity point, which drops her sanity from 13 down to 12. So finally our heroes make it back to town, and it is day 1. So Shauna decides that she's going to go ahead and head back to the saloon, her old stomping grounds, to see what's going on. So she goes in there and does a couple events and does this and does that, and on her way out, she spots this gentleman sitting there, and she decides to go ahead and pickpocket him. So she goes ahead and pickpockets him and finds a looking glass. And with obtaining the looking glass, her cunning goes up 1 from 3 to 4. Now the bad side of this is that because she picked the pocket, she also ended up obtaining 3 corruption hits. And when she went ahead and did the process to see if the corruption hits turned into corruption points, only 2 of them turned into corruption points. And now she has a total of 5 corruption points. And because she has 5 corruption points, that means that she mutates. So Shauna ends up mutating and gets void infection. Anytime you pass through a gate, you take 1 corruption point, ignoring willpower. So Shauna goes ahead and leaves the saloon. So now we go on to day 2. So during day 2, Shauna decides that she's going to go down to the frontier outpost to see if there's anything down there that she can buy and see what's going on. As she comes up to the outpost, there's a group of soldiers out front, and she goes ahead and talks to them, and they're telling stories, and Shauna ends up getting war stories. Once during the next adventure, you may re-roll a damage roll for 1 of your hits. So Shauna goes ahead and enters into the frontier outpost, and she goes and looks for the local bulletin board. She goes up to it to see if they got anything good there, and she finds a bounty for night terrors, $150 per hero. So excellent. They fought a night terror before, so hopefully they can find a lot more and get $150 per night terror, and then this will help out their freedom. So then Shauna goes ahead and just walks around the frontier outpost, and she's looking and looking and looking, and then she comes across a hunting knife. So for $400, gives her a +1 to combat. So then Shauna goes ahead and heads back to the hotel, and then we move on to day 3. So the first thing that Shauna does in the morning is to ask if Yvette can go ahead and hold on to one of the bandages and the flash. Because she's going to go over to the general store and see if she can find some stuff over there. So Shauna walks over to the general store and finds that there's a fire sale going on and $50 off, minimum of $25. So the first thing that Shauna does is goes ahead and buys 2 dynamite. That's going to fill up her side bag again. And then she finds a pistol. Now remember, she can only use weapons that are light, so she found a light pistol. So Shauna knows that her sister has those special bullets, those Deadeye shots. So she's going to go ahead and pick up some special bullets for her, Demon Shot and Void Shot. So Shauna goes ahead and leaves the general store and heads back to the hotel where her sister's at, and they go ahead and get everything together, and her sister goes ahead and hands over the information to the mine and the map and says, why don't you go ahead and direct us there, because you've been living here for a year, you'll probably know how to get there a lot better than I can. So with our former heroes all updated and ready to go, let's move on to our new heroes, Samantha Sam Harthinger, U.S. Marshal. So here's our U.S. Marshal, Samantha Sam Harthinger, and she is 24 years old. Yvette met Samantha at the saloon with Angela. While staying the night at the campsite, Yvette talked with Samantha in very in-depth, lengthy conversations to see and understand that she is definitely the lead behind this duo. And to find out if called Samantha, without quickly correcting her name back to Sam after being informed to, she will definitely be the lead to put a rifle butt to your face, followed by her partner, Angela, who will put you down in the dirt. Now after turning 20, Sam became the first woman in the U.S. Marshal program, where she pushed herself to exceed and lead the group. Graduating and soon wearing a proud Marshal badge, upon her shirt, she was able to command and produce more attacks, whether shooting or in combat, than any other U.S. Marshal. As months passed, and from behind the badge and the shackles at her side, the learning and outcome of her assignments she commanded became more and more fluent for her to cancel or reposition the outcome. And with that increases her strength from a 2 to a 3. Now, was this from experience or the bottle of whiskey that she kept at the ready? With a standard U.S. Marshal issued shotgun by her side, meant she'd have to be closer than she wanted to. So she quickly learned the double shot to neutralize the situation. With this special tactic, each bandit put down increased the grit inside her, branding her Rolling Thunder. Her last full assignment 6 months ago put her in the middle of a dilemma between space and speed. A civilian at a far distance was being attacked by a very large spider with a gaping maw on its underbelly. Sam ran to close the range to shoot her shotgun, but not before the spider had produced several large gashes across the woman's upper chest, rendering her unconscious. With the situation neutralized, Sam rendered help to the wounds, knowing that they would leave thick scars, just like the ones on the woman's upper left arm and neck. As Sam looked at the unconscious woman to recall a memory, the woman slowly opened her eyes, and with that, their eyes locked and the memory surfaced. Sherman Farmstead, Fire, Angela Abundis. Since then, Sam and Angela have been with each other, and to not let what happened to Angela again, or to anyone else, Sam had a special hunting rifle designed. The design was a dark, shimmering purple barrel made from that special dark stone. And with that increased the range of the hunting rifle from a 12 up to a 16. So with this, it made the shot travel a longer range so that Sam did not have to worry about not arriving in time to save anyone else. Now, a month after meeting with Angela, Sam transferred from the U.S. Marshal Division to the Bounty Division, going undercover and keeping Angela by her side as a cover. On certain missions, you needed to do what needed to be done. And if a single shot from your favorite guns did not do the trick, there was always multiple dynamite in your side bag to do the trick. But on a strict deep mission, the dark side had to be followed, and engraved into the stock of her altered-looking standard U.S. Marshal issued shotgun was a rune of darkness. Following that, to keep in character, a rune of shadows and a rune of the void were engraved into the stock of her hunting rifle. Though you would think that that would have been plenty of information and surprises, by the end of the night's conversation, a cigar was pulled out and puffed by this tough little U.S. Marshal. And last but not least, let's move on to our last new hero, Angela Abundis, Bandita. So here's our Bandita, Angela Abundis, and she is 29 years old. Yvette met Angela at the saloon with Sam. While staying the night at the campsite, Yvette tried talking with Angela to find out more about her, but behind a decorative, non-transparent veil, this shy and quiet Latina was mostly talked for by Sam. From a childhood experience, she does not like carrying or using dynamite, thinking that it could be the noise, yet the firing and noise from a pistol is no problem for her. And though she would not like to or intend to hurt anyone, she would prefer to keep one safe and healed. Angela grew into luck with the ace of spades, thus increasing her luck from a 2 to a 3. She keeps the ace of spades tucked in her shirt, bearing the sign of a bullet hole, the bullet that delivered a chest wound to her that almost killed her during her swindling days. Being the swindler that she is, this lifestyle has increased her combat from a 2 up to a 3. Though Angela is quiet and described as a pacifist, her grittier and wild card side of her can handle herself in a fight. A fist up close and personal fight, though if need be, she can also take anyone down with her hunting knife that is cord wrapped with her favorite reptile's fangs, the rattlesnake fangs, and or her knuckle dusters. So, if you decide that you want to call her girl Samantha, who Angela is the only one who can call her that, then you might as well put a knife in your head and call it quits. With the length of time sitting at the campfire talking, Yvette's discomfort from the assassination attempt she obtained at the saloon on her right leg was starting to act up. Angela noticed this, and being one of abundant and plentiful of giving, quickly returned with her side bag to offer a solution of more powerful healing. Yvette acknowledged her giving and told her that she just needed to stand. Angela returned the side bag. The longer Yvette stayed and talked, Angela grew more comfortable and relaxed, though only an occasional grunt or was used to answer. Eventually, Yvette saw 2 variations of scars over Angela's body. The first set of thick scars were on Angela's upper left arm and neck, towards her face, most likely from a fire, and most likely by the veil. Last year, twice, Angela rushed into a burning farmstead, though sheltered with her dusty poncho. The first time, unlucky, she got burnt and left empty-handed. The second time, lucky, she rescued a small child and became a hero of the day. Her equipment and experience has improved her health and sanity alike, giving her a +2 for both, for a total of 18 health, and a 10 sanity. The second set of thick scars lay across the top of Angela's chest, half hidden by her shirt, long, thick scars, definitely produced by void spiders. Now, Yvette can understand why Angela carries an excessive amount of void shot bullets with her. This incident is where Angela and Sam had met, and where Sam almost failed on dispatching the fight, but eventually did and rescued Angela. They have been together ever since. Seems that our new acquaintances have dealt with these creatures before. While Yvette and Sam continued to talk, and while Angela waited on them, Yvette noticed that when Angela walked near Sam's shotgun and hunting rifle, she moved away quickly and redirected her path. Fear, phobia, powder allergy, disgust? Finally, the night grew late, and with all cleaned, Angela cuddled up next to Sam and began showing signs of caring and cleanliness towards her, rubbing Sam's belly and protecting Sam's chest, like a protective mother. So with the time getting late into the morning, Yvette decided that it was time to exit and head back to her tent. As she slowly walked away, and with the 2 new heroes way behind her, Yvette glanced back to see Angela and Sam in their tent's opening, turn towards one another, hugging, and then finishing off with a kiss. So this concludes the setup and the update and creation of our 4 heroes. Join us next video as we take our 2-day ride north to check out that other mine that Clark Morgan has, the one with the fully glowing blue exit, emitting a nice autumn breeze.